Simcha, celebration, Simcha, Simcha, celebration of life.
Hello, welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life. I'm Nikki Wallman. There are two major events that have shaped the course of Jewish life over the last 200 years. One being extensive migration and the other the Holocaust. There are very few Jews living today in the same place where their ancestors lived a century or two ago, and as a result, many people feel it would be impossible to trace their family roots or find lost family members. However, it appears that Jewish genealogy is in fact possible. After receiving a family tree from a distant relative, Sybel Castle was able to track down numerous relatives whom she otherwise would not have known.
In 1984, I received one of the best presents of my life. It arrived in the post and it was called My Family Tree. It was sent to me by relatives in the United States. I had no idea that I had so many relatives. And it was only later when I started traveling and making contact with these people that it opened up a whole new world for me, and had some amazing experiences. One of the most amazing experiences was meeting my first cousins actually, in Russia, in Moscow, because prior to the Iron Curtain falling, my mother had lost contact with them in the 60s. And through some story, I'm not quite sure how it all happened, but we discovered that our first cousins were living in Moscow, and I would say that was one of the most memorable of the experiences due to this family tree. When we started talking about our lives, and my cousin Sarah remembered my mother coming to say goodbye to them. She was about 3 years old at the time. She might not quite have remembered the visit as much as the present that my mother brought her, which was a little tea set. And she told me she treasured that tea set because that was the only toy she ever had. People do it for many reasons. I asked several people what made you do it. There's not one reason, there are many reasons. One wants to preserve the legacy of your parents. You want to know about your ancestors. You want to satisfy your curiosity, which is a basic human instinct. And I accompanied Andrea to this conference in Washington. It was a genealogical conference, and it's the 31st one. I was absolutely amazed to find that there were 1,200 delegates. And seeing these people busily involved on their computers, their iPads, researching and searching, made me realize just how fascinating this journey is. And I must mention that when I registered at this conference, I was confronted by somebody who I had heard about but didn't know about, and it happened to be one of my husband's relatives. Because in the conference documents that they sent in advance, she had spotted my name and spotted the fact that I was from South Africa, put two and two together, and looked out for me at registration so that we could meet. This subsequently led to a meeting just a few weeks ago in Melbourne, where she now lives. And it was a very emotional experience. It's my husband's relative. He had never seen her and in his life before, and he was very touched by this whole experience. The websites are very well planned. They give videos to help you on your way, and they are so easy to navigate. And there's so many ways that a novice can start and get all the help they need. certainly has enriched my life. I've got to know about their lives and their life stories, and it's just brought everything together. It's amazing that although we've been separated by miles and years and experiences, we still have a link and a common heritage, and that draws us together. You know, some people enjoy traveling, enjoy family, enjoy meeting people, enjoy history, enjoy life stories, and there are people who don't. But for those who do, I'd encourage them to go for it, because there's no doubt your life is enriched by the experiences of these people. And the link to family and ancestry is worthwhile, in my opinion. And it's a legacy that we can pass on to our children and future generations. As they say, we have the living genes within us, and their blood running through our veins. So go for it if you're that way inclined.
A person may ask themselves, why would forgiving someone make me feel better when I feel perfectly happy with the anger and resentments I feel towards them? According to Rabbi Zev Wineberg, this is most certainly an unhealthy frame of mind and can be completely debilitating. Today, he continues his series, Kabbalah Love, and discusses the concept of forgiveness.
This chapter is all about forgiving. Forgiving is one of the hardest things that we humans face. Getting angry, perhaps the easiest. What's the consequence of holding a grudge? I once asked a psychologist, what is the effect of holding a grudge? And he told me, it's like taking poison and waiting for the other person to die. You see, when we hold on to anger, believe it or not, it creates hypertension. Many diseases come from hypertension. There's a book written by a lady, Brandon Bays, called The Journey, how after forgiving people from a childhood memory, she actually reduced and eliminated a cancerous tumor. In fact, Deepak Chopra believes, and he's a medical doctor, as a scientific fact, that forgiveness cures cancer. In other words, when we hold on to anger, it is literally, not figuratively, but literally holding on to a poison within. The question, of course, is how do we forgive? Deepak Chopra believes that we all can forgive, but some of us simply don't really have access to our heart. Our anger is sometimes stronger than our ability. Just as we mentioned in last month's segment, that the most important commandment in the Bible is to love your friend as much as yourself, the Baal Shem Tov teaches us that there are 248 do's and 365 don'ts in the Bible. And for every do, there's a corresponding don't. So the opposite of love your friend is don't hold on to anger. Don't hold a grudge. And in fact, Jewish law teaches us that if for any reason you can't find it in your heart to forgive, you should actually confront the other person and tell them, I'm upset that you did X to me. Why did you do that? Not to take revenge, but to let that poison out of you, because as long as you hold on to anger, as we mentioned, it is literally holding on to a poison. And last but not least, the Kabbalistic method of dealing with anger is it teaches us that we should all learn from Joseph. If you think about who could have had the angriest, bitterest life in the Bible, it was Joseph. His own brothers took him and they sold him as a slave. And what did he do? In the end, he brought them all down to Egypt. He fed them. He clothed them. He was like a father to them. And when the brothers were afraid when their father Jacob died, they thought maybe he's going to take revenge. He says, you have nothing to fear. You didn't sell me as a slave. God sold me as a slave. And he had a good reason, because he knew that I would have to come and help you later. This is a very profound message. If we believe that God runs the world, we don't get upset at people, because when we get upset, it's only because you did something that you shouldn't have done to me. But if I think God did that to me, then the question is, why did God do it? God isn't angry. He's never malicious. There must be a reason. And as we discussed in chapter 2, in divine destiny, there's a positive purpose behind everything that possibly occurs. So in other words, if we can just think this world is run by God, and even though what happened to me maybe was unjust, but the person who did it to me was only a messenger. The challenge of this week is how to get over anger. Write a list of all the people who have ever angered you, and write next to each name, I forgive you.
And on that note, I bid you farewell and wish you a week of compassion and forgiveness. If you'd like to catch up on any shows you might have missed, you can find them on our website at www.spiritsister.co.za. And as always, from me, Nikki, and the team, shalom, and have a safe and peaceful week.